So, Leyna Allred is the founder of URB Apothecary. She's been obsessed with the medicinal qualities of plants. In 2013, she turned her passionate hobby into a thriving skincare business. URB Apothecary is dedicated to reconnecting us to the nourishing power of plants. She's a mother. Together with a team of women, she runs a thriving business and concocts the most amazing products for face, body, and hair. So, Leyna, tell us what inspired you to start URB Apothecary?
Well, at the time I was living in LA and it was around like 2012, 2013, and kind of the label GMO movement was just starting to kind of pick up steam. And we did a few kind of like marches, label GMO. But one of the amazing side effects of that kind of movement is people were actually suddenly, well, I mean, some people already were, but paying attention to what was in the ingredients and actually taking the time to read the ingredients in food. And that kind of spilled over into, well, if this is in my food, what's in my lotion or my hair care products? And my partner at the time, well, I got several tattoos in LA, and one of them they recommended Aquaphor, and it was the worst healing tattoo I've ever had. And then I got another one and they were like, oh, here is this herbal salve that we made that we feel like will help your tattoo heal. And it heals amazingly. So that was kind of like okay, so I'm going to read what's in all of these ingredients. Petroleum's clearly not great, learning all about that. And I was like, I want to make my own. And so then I started reading herbal books and learning about certain herbs that have affinity for healing the skin and antioxidant, antibacterial, antifungal. And then I just created an herbal infusion and turned it into a salve, which is right now it's the repair salve. It's been like the very first one. And then I gave it to friends and family, and everyone was like, you need to sell it. And I was like, this is just a fun hobby. I love learning about plants. I love learning about herbalism. And it was just kind of like we're just going to start this because it was a passion. I enjoyed it. And then other people, I just had a little Etsy shop and people were buying it. Clearly they were intrigued and it was improving their skin. And I was like, okay, well, it was just like little tiny baby steps. I printed my own labels in the beginning, for a long time actually. And then, just slow organic growth. And 11 years later, we're still here.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And all the things that go into building a business, building the brand. You've done such a beautiful job. Obviously, with all that you're doing, plus raising a kid and everything else, that seems like a ton of stress. How do you handle it? What's been the most stressful part of it, and what's your kind of go-to?
So far, one of the most stressful times is actually when we moved from Santa Cruz to Sacramento. That was not enjoyable, but that was more like a physical move. Honestly, I think the most stressful time has been in the last 3 years, which I think a lot of small businesses can probably say. And what I do, it seems just like such a huge monumental task. And I think that's why we're so stressed. I try and break it into like smaller chunks of like, okay, what can I do to not have so much money going out, or what, just like little tiny chunks. I need a day off so that I can stop freaking out, or that I can just remember how much I love doing this. Remember how much I love coming into the studio and making things, or just being in the studio. Nature, obviously, I think a lot of people in my industry have a special place in their heart for nature, and mine is at the river and mountain lakes. And I just went to a mountain lake this weekend. I got to swim in the water, and it's just so grounding, so centering. And I'm like, okay, we can go back and do this and tackle all the myriads of things that are now on our plate, with the difficulty of being seen on social media and the difficulty of just being seen in general, with a lot of other small businesses trying to do it. But then also it's just a hard time, especially when we began this. Instagram was how we got most of our sales, and that didn't take much effort. So just like small, attainable, and coffee, small attainable, little chunks, one thing at a time, instead of, yes, we have a big picture, but then also you have to look at the small picture that you don't get overwhelmed.
Fine. Yeah, that's so true. To chop it up into manageable and do this kind of chunks. But also I love that idea of like just get away from it also. Like go swimming, go to the mountains, go do something that's, really connected to your roots. So that's great. So sustainability is another big area, and I know that's really important to you. It means a lot to a lot of different companies, or at least there's a lot of sort of marketing around we're sustainable. Tell me what it means to your brand and how you get more people sort of aware of your sustainability efforts.
Yeah, so sustainable basically just means you're not draining a source. In our instance, it's like a natural source for the sake of creating a product. We don't want to use an ingredient that can't regenerate itself quickly, and if there's a high demand for that, then that could be the endangerment of a certain ingredient or a species of plant. And I think that is that's the definition of sustainability. And I do think a lot of brands use sustainable in a marketing term. And I would hope, and I think a lot of small businesses do, I think really look at their ingredient supply and look at the demand for the crop and see if the crop is a renewable or if it's being like a good custodians of the earth. So for example, many years ago, we had this copal Palo Santo body oil, and it was like fan favorite. It was my favorite. And I decided to discontinue it because I was concerned about the sustainability of Palo Santo. And it's still a concern. However, a lot of what I was thinking was just in terms of the tree, and it is the tree, but it is also like a community. And the more I researched about it, there are many indigenous peoples and families and communities that revolve their whole life around creating and maintaining these Palo Santo trees and these forests. And by just stopping consuming Palo Santo, we're not necessarily making a sustainable environmental living for them. They don't want Palo Santo to go to extinct because it's their livelihood. So I think finding places that are doing that and cultivating ingredients in that sustainably minded way. I brought back the Palo Santo because I also wanted to sustain communities while they're sustaining a certain ingredient and crop. And it's kind of, I was researching it a bit, and I think wild American ginseng was like a pretty good example of something that has a lot of flared in popularity many years ago, and it was over harvested in the wild, and it created an endangerment. So that would not be a sustainable ingredient. But then there was such a demand for it that they're like, well, we need to cultivate it and farm it. So then they're creating like a sustainable form of it and then kind of leaving the wild ginseng alone to kind of regenerate. And I think that is like what sustainability is, like the ideology of sustainability is looking at an ingredient and looking at the community that is around that ingredient. And is that sustainable ingredient in general? And is it sustainable for the community that's like cultivating it?
I love that it's a holistic approach to it. And, how are we looking at this from all perspectives and not just this, sort of like, can I put a sustainable label on it, because of one thing or another. I noticed you also do a lot of sourcing from, as much as possible, from local farms and U.S.-based farms. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, or is there more to add there?
Yeah. It's been it's not easy to find small growers specifically for like medicinal herbs. I think it's more, I feel like, in the last 5 years because of people's the market demand. Because people are like, herbs, these are these amazing healing things. Like, how do we get more of that? A lot of it has been word to mouth. Hey, I have this, or they're reaching out to me. We have this small farm. One of them was a small farm in Canada, and we got the most vibrant orange calendula that I've ever seen. And it was just from this small, there's another one in Oregon that we use. And then there's we are fortunate enough to live in a very fertile valley in the Sacramento Valley. So we found a lavender farm and we paired with them with our hydrosol. And yeah, it's like the search and then like word of mouth or them finding us. And yeah, I feel, and the quality is always so much higher because we can order it in small batches and it's so much more fresh than if we were to go to like a big supplier. I love Mountain Rose herbs and they have their place, but I try not to get the majority of my herbs from them. I try to source everything from small farms because the freshness and the potency is much, much higher.
That's awesome. And you're also supporting their thriving business or, growing business. So that's the ripple effects of that, I think, are amazing. So tell me, regarding your products, what are you most proud of?
I am most proud of that we make everything in-house and it is a source of like great joy that we make it all. And that about 98% of all the ingredients are infused with the herbs and the plant material. And by infusing them, they have all of the healing and medicinal properties of the plants themselves in the oil. And I think that is something, that's the basis of herb. The whole line is just to be based in, it's one thing to be based in plants, but then it's plant like medicine, it's plant properties that are really like the basis of the line. That's always something that I have found to be something that I'm very proud of, and that they're in so many other products and that makes them effective, and people always respond to that. And I'm incredibly proud of that. We take the extra time to put the plant material in there because it does take extra time.
You have such a great selection, of variety of products, and they're so unusual and unique. I'm fascinated with all of that.
Yeah.
I wonder, can you tell me a little bit about like your innovation process? How do you come up with new formulas?
Yeah, in the last few years, we've definitely come up with some more in-depth formulation, like the goji nectar cleansing balm. There's lots of cleansing balms, balms to milk, but I wanted a balm to milk cleanser that wasn't soap-based, just for people with more mature skin. My skin, as it's maturing, I kind of wanted to experiment with that, but I wanted it to be solid. I don't want it to turn milky, and I think I had this end idea of what I want it to be, and then kind of like dive in and to find all the like ingredients, and then buy all of the ingredients that could be, and then just like experiment with different combinations and ratios. And goji took us about like a year and a half, and we went through many variations of that. The willow cleanser was another example. That one it's steel soap based. That one we did many years ago, and that one took quite a while too. And just finding ingredients that people are familiar with, but then they're just unusual enough that they're like, what's that? And then maybe they research the properties of that, or just enough to catch their eye. That's always something that I've been proud of, and it's pretty fun to have kind of strange, so mainstream ingredients.
Yeah. Well, the goji, both of those, but the goji nectar is kind of new to me. And speaking of someone with a mature skin, it's just gorgeous. It's just so rich and creamy, and then you get a little water in it, and it just feels so nice. So that you nailed it there. So, as a female founder, what does that mean to you, and how has it shaped your business journey?
I can't say necessarily that I don't feel like I came up against many struggles, and I feel that would be different if I had sought like maybe venture capital for that. But since it was such a slow growth route, I felt like it was very natural. And it feels empowering as a woman to own my own business and to have gone through all of the learning curves of figuring out how to run a business and everything that entails. And I was very fortunate to have had a supportive partner who kind of was like, you need to do this. Like, I could see that you need to grow this and to build this, and I'll support you in those very like beginning lean years while we're all figuring it out. So I'd have to say, I don't want to say that it was like easier, but in years past it's easier. And now, as a mother of two small children, I would call it very difficult. And there's only three of us in here, and I find myself not able to be in here as much because I am being on the mothering side and trying to give them my whole attention. And then when I'm here, I try to give this my whole attention. So in terms of that and like being a woman, mother-owned business, I'm proud that we can do that, but it is also incredibly difficult to be a woman and run a small business. Yeah.
And thank goodness you're in charge, because you can make up the rules of
Right.
but you also have to afford that. So, but
I mean, my
what a big
kids
challenge.
would come to the studio often, but then they reached the age where they was just turned into more mayhem and me just refereeing them. And I was like, we're not getting any work done here. We're not. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your future goals. What do you see your brand turning into in the years ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I want to continue to expand and to get into more markets. We recently, about maybe in like December and November, we started wholesaling to Japan. We have a wholesale distributor in Japan, so that feels really exciting to be over there. It's kind of an international market. I think just keep expanding it, and I don't think I ever want to relinquish the production aspect, because we get to control so much of the quality and control of that. And the goal is to continue to grow and get in front of more markets and then just kind of scale with that. I think it's just to be into more markets and to kind of push because we're very comfortable right now, but it's always fun to kind of step outside of that comfort zone and see what we can do. So yeah, just to keep growing and on more markets, maybe some bigger kind of grocery store chains, like Whole Foods would be great. It's just a exposure, and there's lots of really awesome small ones. But I think that's like the next step is to get into some bigger markets.
What a fantastic opportunity for Japan. I mean, that must be an amazing market.
Very exciting. Yeah.
In closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience that maybe you're excited about or that's coming up for you?
We don't have any. Well, actually, we do have a new product. It was a collaboration. It was kind of like a last-minute collaboration, but it came together beautifully. I believe next week we are launching a very limited run of the Palo Santo Vetiver Hand and Body Liquid Soap, which we're really excited to be paired with Naked Goat Soap Company. They're on the East Coast, and she makes all of her like soap and paste from scratch. And so we sent our blend over there, and she made it, and we just labeled it today. So that is a very new launch. Yeah, other than that, we don't really have too much cooking. We're just trying to get through like the SAR slump and being creative with that. But I do want to say that I feel like we're inundated all the time with like anti-aging, anti-wrinkle, and all those things. And I think at the heart of what herb is we just want to like help people heal their skin or just get in touch with some part of themselves where it's just like that self-love where they don't have to cover themselves with makeup. I mean, if you do that, some people just enjoy doing that, but if you feel like you're covering something, I want to help like heal the skin so that they can see their own beauty, or even I created the belly balm and the belly oil because when I went through pregnancy, I feel like I had a really hard time just with my own body image, and just the act of massaging an oil, it was like I was just acknowledging like my body, like my legs are so strong, and I just like tell myself little things like my legs are strong, they carry through a day, like my body is amazing what it's doing. And I feel like those little things really help shape and shift your image of yourself. And I want like my herb product and the line to ultimately be that, like as a tool for like reconnecting with like yourself and like a deeper sense of self, not just like the skin, but like a deeper sense of enjoying who you are and how you've been made.
That resonates so strongly with me. I feel like the beauty industry, and not even that, but like all the messages that little girls hear all the way up to old women are, stay young. If you're not young, then you need to fix something, right? You got to hit the Botox or do something. It's like, no, we're as beautiful at 60 as we are at 20. We just have different lines on our faces or what have you, but it's all beautiful. Nothing needs to be fixed. Enhance whatever you want to, or, put your gorgeous oils and everything on to feel good and to have that confidence that you want to feel. But don't feel like you're broken and need to fix something.
Right, exactly.
So I appreciate that a lot. One other thing I wanted to ask, you mentioned like kind of going your own way, like you didn't feel any challenges as you scale. There's probably going to be a lot of pressure to, this is how we do it, right? This is how it's done. You go to a factory or you export your production processes. How cool would that be to be able to like redefine, no, this is how it's done. Right? Like,
Yeah,
we've got a different
we can do
model
that.
that we're going to pursue. Do you think about that, or is that something that
Yeah, I do. And there's like some larger skincare companies that have like scaled in-house, and they basically have their own, I don't want to say factory, but they are in charge of their own product. And like that's like a wonderful goal that we have that I have in my head. Like if it ever got to that point, like that's how I want it to go. I don't want to hand over just the sourcing and formulation to someone else. I would love to just go against the grain a little bit and do it my own way and keep the baby close.